John!
What?
Red 7!
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route? Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down!
Come on.
Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sacked lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carey, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
All right, welcome back. It is the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast. 2/3 of the show live from Provo, Utah, still at the stadium where the Sooners win it 31-24. And outside of the game, everything else, the focus guys, Dillon Gabriel, who does not come back out of the halftime locker room, appears to have suffered a concussion, even though Brent Venables wouldn't term it as that. And now the wait is on to see what happens when the Sooners take on TCU.
Yeah, Carey, pretty crazy. It was funny. I guess not funny, but I didn't think much of it when he went down there towards the goal line. It was I think it was second and goal at the 5, and he tried to run outside, and his head kind of snapped back and hit the ground. Yeah, and at halftime, I really didn't think of it, and then I got a text from someone like, hey, you might see if Dillon Gabriel comes out for the second half. And sure enough, a couple minutes later, I watch and it's just Jackson Arnold and Davis Bevel, and he wasn't out there. And then I turned on the radio in the press box, and Plank came on there and said that it was going to be Jackson Arnold the rest of the way. And I was like, they're going to lose this game. I know Eddie and I kind of had the same thought. Like, I believe in Jackson Arnold, but there were
many moments throughout the second half. It was like they're playing with some serious fire.
Well, and it's like, you believe in Jackson, but to put him in that spot in that moment, tie game, I mean, the crowd was electric. It was raining. BYU was feeling confident. I think it was a really tough spot to put him in. And, look, Dobbins didn't move the ball till late in the game. The defense came up with some of probably the game-winning plays. But, the big 3rd down and 8 to complete to Farouk, check into that play. That took some balls of steel from a 19-year-old kid that's barely played.
You could tell after the game that was something that Jeff Levy he was on cloud 9 about the way that Jackson Arnold handled everything going into kind of the position that they were. And then you go back to the Billy Bowman pick 6, 3rd pick 6 in school history that goes for 100 yards, joining Julian Wilson and Al Needs in 1945. I mean, it was, I don't think it's crazy, Carey, to say that the Billy Bowman pick 6 might have saved Oklahoma's season, just in terms of everything that was on the line in that moment to go down. If that's where, it's a 14-point swing. If BYU takes a 7-point lead there in the second half, I really don't, I assume that they're able to maybe claw out a touchdown, tie it up, and who knows what happens. But man, the crowd would have been completely back into the game. And for him to come up in the moment that he did, it really, I kind of view it as that saved Oklahoma season, just as far as the next, week and a half or whatever is left.
There's a couple of, quick hitters I take out of this, just big picture wise. First, this is an Oklahoma program that is not mentally capable of going on the road and dominating anyone, no matter who they play. You look at it now, a full season of home games and road games. Outside of that neutral game at Texas, where you had half your crowd, you had a lot of emotion in that building, some on your side, some not. This team just has not played well on the road. I mean, it kind of explains the loss to Kansas now. It explains, not playing up to their potential at OSU. And certainly today, this was a BYU team that just got throttled a week ago by Iowa State. It's just a tale of two different teams. And I'll say this: I'm not saying that totally from a negative perspective, because this was a team last year that had an even worse problem of playing away from home. Had no shot. I mean, they lost so many close games on the road. Even at home, they were losing close games. So there has been progress. I don't want to discount that. It's not going to be a college football playoff team like everyone was hoping after the Texas game. But let's face it, the Big 12 overall a pretty average league without a superpower in it right now, and I'll include Texas. I don't think that they're a superpower at all, especially without their top running back and a quarterback that's been in and out all year, and it hasn't been a first round draft pick like people predicted at the beginning of the season. So I think we've learned a lot about this team, and the main thing that I've learned is they're just not there yet.
Yeah, they're not there yet, but they also have the capability to beat anybody in this league. Kind of like what you're saying, Carey, is like there's 4 or 5 teams, probably 4 teams right now that could win the conference in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. And I don't even know if I put Oklahoma State in that category right now because they're so inconsistent as well. But at the end of the day, OU can't screw around with these teams. But I'm also like, BYU played their ass off today. Like they clearly, felt like they had a chance to win the game today, and they're playing for their season, right? They're trying to get to a bowl game, and I thought they played really well. I think the field, I don't want to make up excuses, but the field was clearly an issue for some of the players today. Like defensive guys were slipping. I think that was part of the reason they weren't able to fill some of the gaps that they did today. Danny Stutsman, food poisoning. I don't know how big of an effect that had on him.
He was on his deathbed, basically. Had IVs going in literally the minutes leading up to the game. He for what he had to battle through and to come up with the strip sack there in the fourth quarter, unbelievable day.
And the quarterback, he was playing the game of his life until the fourth quarter. Like he was just playing out of his mind, making some great plays, making really good reads. And then he throws, the massive pick six and then the strip sack. Those two things can't happen for him. But I don't know. I look at this and say this team won, and we've said this a million times this year. This team doesn't win this game a year ago. I don't think this team wins this game a few weeks ago. They were in this exact same scenario against Kansas, and they weren't able to shut the door and win the game. So to me, it's the small things. You take the win, you get the hell out of Provo, and you go back home with the chance to win 10 games. And who knows what the hell happens? You maybe get into the Big 12 championship game. But I think it was a step in the right direction today in terms of how they were able to close the game. I mean, the offense got the ball with 5 minutes left. They were aggressive. He had Nick Anderson on the touchdown on the one thing.
I love the play call. Being aggressive, throwing the ball down the field. He brought Nick Anderson. I mentioned to you after the game, he's probably not used to somebody overthrowing it.
Right, and they found their number one running back in Gavin Sawchuk. I mean, he is their guy going forward. He was really good today. And then to have the trust in Jackson Arnold on 3rd and 8, again, I think shows a lot of improvement from this coaching staff in terms of letting him throw the ball there because it was going to be a pass play, and he checked into the slant because he read it. But to have the awareness to do that, I think says a lot about Jackson, but also Jeff Levy to trust him to do that.
Third straight week in which Gavin Sawchuk goes over 100 yards too, and his fourth quarter touchdown run. He's running the ball. It's night and day differently than what we had seen when he was trying to get going at the beginning of or the middle of the season when he finally got healthy. Just breaking tackles. I thought the touchdown run was a kind of a exclamation point on his last 3 weeks.
It was mini beast mode. It was a little bit of Marshawn Lynch there. I mean, he was not going to be denied that touchdown. By the way, do we know where Deputy Commissioner Tim Weiser was? Could he possibly have poisoned Danny Stutsman's food?
It's a good point. Didn't think about that. Although I do think it happened back in Norman. So maybe he infiltrated. Danny wouldn't say where he ate, but he said it was a nice pasta shop. And there's a pasta shop in Norman near and dear to my heart. I'm gonna think that it was.
Let's not besmirch any of the fine Italian restaurants in Norman.
No, I know. I hope it wasn't the place that I'm thinking of.
Yes,
we're not saying any names. All right, we're going to bleep that out of the podcast.
Said that he thought it was some undercooked pasta. I don't know how that happens.
You don't get food poisoning from undercooked pasta. It would have to be the sauce or something like. You're not getting. Yeah. You can eat dry pasta. You're not going to get food poisoning.
Sure.
Also, a hat tip to Kobe McKenzie. I thought Kobe McKenzie, he came in, would throw. They basically played him the entire second half because Kip Lewis wasn't getting it done. Like that's the first bad Kip Lewis games. Jaron Kanik was not good today either when he was in there. I thought Kobe McKenzie came in and played pretty well.
Well, and let me real quick.
Yeah.
Let's real quick go back to kind of the beginning of this thing because I mean the anatomy of this game that was not a good performance by the defense in the first half. I mean, I thought Dillon Gabriel threw the ball really well. The offense was playing well enough to get a lead and extend it. The defense could not get them off the field when they needed to. It was not complimentary football. It was the opposite of complimentary football that we saw today. Special teams, I mean, look, Zach Schmidt missed a field goal. And by the way, I did tweet about this. No one in college is cutting kickers. Stop demanding that Zach Schmidt be cut. They don't do that. That's how I know you're not a real college football fan, when you say cut him.
Well, I demand he be cut.
They don't have to cut him, Carey, but they got to stop yelling to him. Like, it's sorry, your time is over. Find somebody else. I don't know who that's going to be. Frankly, I don't care who it is. Get somebody else out there, though.
Yeah, I think Brent, his faith in Zach Schmidt, it has to be over with now. I mean, he missed a 28-yard field goal that could have ended up costing you the game, cost you a lot of momentum. But guys, I mean, like you said, there was no. I mean, it was nice to see Tawi Walker in there at times. I thought he was a nice changeup, but Gavin Sawchuk really is the reason that they won the game offensively in the second half. He carried that offense. He had over 107. He had 170 yards rushing today. When you have a backup quarterback, and let's face it, when they brought Jackson Arnold in, they were very slow. I mean, some conservative calls, some throws behind the line of scrimmage, and he kind of eased himself into the game. But other than that first down, it ended up salting away the game, and it was a great audible for him to get into that play. Obviously, it was just what you would kind of expect from a true freshman that was having his first really important snaps as a college football player.
And he even said after the game that he was a little bit nervous, anxious to be out there. And I think he was a little bit juiced up, I'm sure. I think you saw that in the overthrow to Anderson. And he had, on the first possession, I think he fumbled the second snap. The third one, he has, if he gets that ball to Tawi Walker on the screen, I think it was a setup screen there, Tawi Walker might have scored. I mean, he easily would have picked up the first down. So he missed on some throws. It's going to be interesting to see, because if Dillon doesn't play on Friday, which I know Brent said after the game that he thinks he'll be back pretty quickly. I don't know. That's a quick 6-day turnaround, especially if it's a concussion. Like, I don't know what kind of protocol they have, but to turn around that quickly would be pretty impressive.
Let's remember he missed over a week a year ago, so this is not his first concussion. He had a full week to prepare. He didn't play against Texas. I would say there's probably a better than 50% chance that Jackson Arnold is the starting quarterback right now. I mean,
and I think you feel a lot better about Jackson in that situation than being thrown into what he was today. Like, you're going to be at home, the crowd is behind you. You're going to have the whole week of getting the first team reps. Like, I think Jackson, if he starts on Friday, will perform a lot better than he did today. I had some people text me like, "Are you worried about the way Jackson played?" I'm like, "No, he played. I thought he played really well." People forget too, on that last drive, they had gotten stuffed on first down and they ran a quarterback power. He made a huge run. I mean, broke several tackles, reached for the first down.
And of course, a penalty.
That was a massive pickup for him. I mean, like, he's a guy too. And you think back to the. I think it was the first play, I can't remember which one it was, but he scrambles for about 30 yards down the field and gets called back because of a block in the back by Stogner. I mean, that's the kind of versatility this guy brings. I think he's going to be. I don't have any worries about Jackson, and the fact that he could go in there and make that type of an audible in that moment and deliver on the numbers to Farouk right at the sticks. I mean, that's more impressive than anything else he did to me, in my opinion.
Well, look, rainy day, crappy field, on the road, a great road environment. I just keep going back to the fact that you had so many procedure penalties early on the offensive line. You executed a fake punt flawlessly, and instead of just running down the field, Rodney Anderson decides to block someone 10 yards. And he gets called for offensive pass interference. That blows up, a drive that could have gone somewhere when you were trying to be aggressive offensively. I mean, there's just so many things, like you mentioned right there. The run by Jackson Arnold. It was Austin Stogner on the holding penalty. I mean, you're a fifth-year senior dude. Like, how are you allowing that to happen on the field? It's just look, the road games are over. I understand, but this team, this program. I mean, I think Brent's turned the culture around. But now it's time for this team and this program to have an attitude of, when we're going to play a 5-5 team on the road, and it's their biggest game of the year, we're still going to go up there and we're going to shove it down their ass. Like, they don't have that attitude. And it starts with the penalties. It starts with the undisciplined play on the road, where it seems like you're more, and I'm not trying to make this a rant, but it seems like you're more worried about screwing up than you are being aggressive and just going out there and dominating opponents like you should if you play for Oklahoma. That was a rant.
Yeah, that was a rant. No, I agree, Carey. I mean, that's part of the growth of this thing. Like, I
agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's frustrating, but
I'm not saying throw everyone away. I'm just saying, look, guys, like, the expectation level is more than what you're showing, and it's great that you've won 9 games, and everyone's hopes that you win 10, but realize that there's a level that you're going to have to get to going to the SEC that you're just not at as a program right now.
I mean, yeah, I agree to an extent. I don't know. I think you just take the win and you move on, and I think it shows some growth. And you're right. I mean, look, they're going to have to go to LSU next year, and they're going to have to go to Auburn, and
Auburn's getting beat 24-3 by New Mexico State right now.
Oh, they suck. So that means OU will play them close next year in Auburn. But yeah, no, you're right, Carey. You're totally 100% right. I just don't know. Like, we're clearly not going to get the answer to that if they can do that until next year. This is the last road game, and I think they're going to take care of business against TCU because they played really well at home all season, and then we'll see, what the Big 12 championship looks like, and then obviously wherever they go for their bowl game. But yeah, the road has been a problem this year for this group, and like, I'm still interested. Like, do they not have a silent count? Like, how do they keep false starting on offense? Like, I don't understand. Do they not have some sort of, because like the clap thing, like, surely they're not going off the clap.
I think they are going off the clap. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you do that in that kind of crowd environment?
I don't know. They had enough penalties today that if they would have lost this game, we're throwing a shit fit right now because of the penalties, because of the Nick Anderson pass interference, because of the Austin Stogner block in the back, because of the pre-snap penalties. They were just able to get away with it today because they played a team that just not good enough to take advantage of those opportunities that Oklahoma gave them.
By the way, you want to talk about how a stupid penalty can ruin a game? I mean, look at this Houston and Oklahoma State game. Oklahoma State had a 4th and 16, like at their own 10-yard line. 4th and 16, they tackled Ollie Gordon on a short pass. Alan Bowman was playing horrifically. Ollie Gordon had not got going. He's hurt once again. And they're going to get the ball back up, 24-3 or 21-3, and they go and score. They've got Oklahoma State on the ropes. They get that personal foul penalty. Oklahoma State takes it right down the field. Now they're ahead by 10 points with 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I mean, stupidity kills you on the road, or if you're just an even team with another team. You've just got to get past that as a program.
That's the one thing with Oklahoma that you're like, can they figure that out in the offseason? Because the reality is they're not going. That's not something that they're just getting, like, that's been them all year. Like, they're the most penalized team in the Big 12. A lot of them is just dumb penalties.
And they've had one of those stupid taunting ones. I mean, Jaron Kanik had it. Ethan Downs was lucky he didn't have one against Texas.
Right. But I mean, some of the penalties OU gets, though, are just, pre-snap bullshit stuff that you just can't do. You got to eliminate those things. And I thought the officiating was good today, by the way, for any of the conspiracy theorists.
No, it was. It was good.
Woody Washington got away with maybe one of the more blatant PIs that you could get.
I did really have the sense watching that game at home, like, the refs are trying to prove that there's not a conspiracy theory against Oklahoma. OU probably could have been flagged for some things here and there. I didn't notice at all like the stuff that Oklahoma was getting called for. It was fair. I mean, like the Nick Anderson thing, that was fair. I mean, I didn't really see the Austin Stogner replay, but you could tell by his expression, like, he knew he effed up. I mean, I didn't see that today. I mean, now that I've heard about the Danny Stutsman, food poisoning thing, I am concerned though.
Yeah, I mean, they could be poisoning him, but
they would have poisoned a whole lot of people if there was a coordinated effort.
What did you think of Jackson Arnold?
I mean, here's the thing. Like, on television, in the close-ups they were showing, he looked like he was enjoying being out there. Now, internally, how he felt, I don't know. I mean, nobody really knows except for him. And I think what I saw today was a guy that if he's taking the first team reps, and listen to this. I mean, like, even if Dillon Gabriel played, he would not practice much this week. So Jackson Arnold is going to get as many snaps as they can get him, put on his arm this week in practice. He's going to be ready to be the starting quarterback next week. And I think you'll see a different Jackson Arnold. And I'm on the assumption right now that he's the starter next week. I'm just, until I hear otherwise, that's just how I'm looking at this thing. But the third down throw was big time. The deep throw, he's got to get on the same page with those guys, and that's understandable that he'd overthrow Nick Anderson. Or was it Nick Anderson or Jaden Gibson that was wide open?
Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson, yeah. And that's something, we're going to get to. We'll do some stock up and stock down because Jaden Gibson had a whale of a day today. Was a big reason that they, got out good offensively to start the game. But, just overall, I think there's a lot more that we're going to see from Jackson Arnold. It was interesting because BYU was spying Dillon Gabriel the entire game. I mean, they basically had two guys that just made sure if he took off that they were going to get there. And for the most part, they did because Dillon's not he's not a dynamic runner. He does, he's really good, but he's not like Vince Young. I mean, he's not going to shake a lot of guys once they've got him in their sights. So when Jackson got out there, he didn't have to deal with that. He was able to use his legs more. It'll be interesting to see what TCU tries to do defensively against him. But overall, I thought it was a good performance. Didn't really throw a lot of scary passes that you felt like were just, that looks like a freshman. So overall I was encouraged.
Yeah, the moment didn't eat him up. He fumbled that snap.
Yeah,
he missed Tommy, as George said, on the screenplay early in his appearance. But it's very obvious that they wanted to get his legs going maybe a little bit more. I know that Jeff Levy said that after the game that when Jackson, when he's headed down on the elevator at halftime, he was already going over some stuff that they wanted to get him more involved with the run game. And they kind of leaned on it at the end of the game in the fourth quarter specifically. So it was, it's kind of a cool moment for him to come in, get the win, pull that thing out because it was as tight as it could possibly be. And, it's kind of the start of the Jackson Arnold era, if you will. Here, for the foreseeable future, specifically, the next couple weeks with the doubt or, whatever you want to call it with Dillon Gabriel's status going into next week's TCU game on a Friday.
Well, and, that's the thing. It's like, I'm sure if Dillon Gabriel's not back next week, he'll start the bowl game, and maybe you see, Jackson Arnold get some time in that because now his red shirt is blown because, he had to play today. Maybe they play like a USC and Caleb Williams sits out. That'd be a nice. I'll say this: if they go out and they beat TCU, I hope that they get like some team that's just like decimated by early injuries in the NFL and pulling out of the bowl game because I just think they deserve it. I mean, it's one of those things. Like I don't think the bowl. You're not playing in a New Year's Six bowl most likely. Unless you somehow get in the Big 12 and then win, then you're automatically in. But
I thought we agreed that if they won 10 games, they were going to go to an NY6.
I think they have a pretty good chance at making a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah, I guess so. But I can't. This team I saw today doesn't deserve to play the New Year's Six bowl. I'm sorry.
I don't think that matters. They're just going to keep moving on up in the rankings if they just keep winning and keep lose.
They won. We do have to take a moment and realize that they won the game because we've done this podcast multiple times on the other side of it. And
I'm happy that they did this today because everyone should realize the expectations for this team are met, and this is what they were. They were supposed to be a team that was improving from being 6-7. We didn't know if the defensive line was going to be any good. They've been solid all year. I mean, they haven't been spectacular. They can't beat anybody by rushing 4 consistently. They've got to bring pressure, just like they did in the second half today against Retzlaff, because he was just tearing them apart when they rushed 4. So, I mean, the secondary is really banged up right now. Not having Gentry Williams has been a bigger deal than we could have imagined. I thought Kendall Dolby had a really bad day today. Kenai Walker has his moments. He is what he is. He's gonna make some plays for you, but he's also gonna bust some stuff here and there. You've had so many missed tackles in the secondary. I mean, Dolby had a missed tackle today that ended up with 20 extra yards on a short pass. It's just like there's so many things that are not there yet for this team, and that's where you should be. I mean, that's the expectations where we are, fans. Like, this is what we told you was going to happen at the beginning of the season, that if they won 9 games, which they just did, if they won 10 games, that was a step forward. The way Brent Venables has been recruiting, it would help him keep his recruiting classes, keep these defensive linemen, these young defensive linemen in the fold, and it would allow them to continue to get better and move forward going into the SEC. So I'm not disappointed in today. I don't want it to come off like that. I'm a little frustrated that expectations got as high as they did after the Texas game, and they weren't realistic. And I'm here to say this is what you should have expected out of the season, pending what happens to TCU. If they lose at home to TCU, then it's a disappointing year. But not an overall. It's a disappointing season. But it shouldn't disappoint you in the direction that this program is going. And I don't know why I'm so animated about everything today.
I'll also say, Carey, Kenai Walker looked like he had a little bit of a groin situation there in the fourth quarter. That's why you saw Josiah Wagner as much as you did. And Makari Vickers didn't even travel today to Provo. So, like you said, the depth situation at cornerback is not good right now.
Yeah. And it showed today.
Gentry suited up, and I wonder if he'll be back next week.
I mean, we keep saying that every week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They need him, though.
Defensively, it was just, they were getting gashed.
Yeah.
Today.
It was bad.
You guys know, I was thinking about this. I think what I think I have some hidden emotional distress because, it was such a great story with Isaac and Dillon and Gabriel about how they were playing together. And for him to have a senior year and not have the quarterback with him, I mean, that's just, to not have Dillon Gabriel be able to play his last game with Drake Stoops. I mean, those guys have meant so much to this program this year. It's just, if it doesn't happen, it's a tragedy. It really is.
Houston on the board. It's all of a sudden become a little bit of a ball game. One-score game as Donovan Smith goes 31 yards. They have an extra point pending that would cut the lead to 6. So
the Caleb Williams crying cam is out right now. Victory formation for UCLA.
I have been told that they are getting their ass kicked today.
38-20 with 50 seconds remaining. It's over.
Dan Mullen put it out there on Twitter earlier. Is the wrong coach in Los Angeles on the hot seat talking about Lincoln Riley?
I give it up to Dan, man. He is he's not afraid to throw some hot takes out there a little bit.
We should have known that at the Cotton Bowl when he was talking about putting the JV squad out there.
Yeah. Okay, so
UH on the Thursday night.
Houston kicks the extra point. 6-point game, 36-30. How much time was there left?
There's like 7-8 minutes left. There's still a lot of time. We'll see. Houston's going to need to get a stop. I don't think that they're going to be able to do that. Ollie Gordon's basically been doing whatever he wants in the second half.
Yeah, he's been banged up a little bit, so we'll see. They'll probably sell out against him on this next series. So we've got Texas coming up also in about an hour. Probably that'll be the kickoff here. So that'll be really interesting to watch. I don't know. Did anyone take Iowa State this week? That 7.5?
Not yet. We'll see if we get out of here alive, though.
All right. I want to remind you guys, Eskridge Lexus, the official travel partner of Sooner Scoop. We did not drive. I'm not that cheap. I let the guys fly out there. Even let you guys have your own separate hotel room. So, but when we can drive somewhere, we are driving in an Eskridge Lexus thanks to our good friends at Eskridge over at eskridgelexus.com. Go check out their website. Give them a call. If you are a Scoop subscriber, they're going to take care of you. I know I've just been hearing from some people that are trying to get certain types, certain models, certain colors that other people say they can't get. They'll go to Eskridge and tell them that, hey, they heard about us. They heard about you, Eskridge, on Scoop, on the podcast, and that they can help them out. They've got the new TXs out, the SUV. It is here now, biggest SUV that Lexus has ever built, and the TX is perfect for family SUVs. because you can lug all your crap. Your next sporting event, tailgate, road trip. Mention that you're a Sooner Scoop subscriber, and Eskridge Lexus will offer you a special discount on any new or even a pre-owned vehicle. And as always, they never have those bogus extra charges like dock fees or force you to buy added accessories that you really didn't want. Like, who's going to put those rubber mats in a Lexus? Like, what kind of a monster are you? Call or visit eskridgelexus.com and, hey, help support. I think they've been there since the beginning. So about, 7-8 years now. And Eddie and I both proud Eskridge Lexus drivers, owners as well. So, okay, guys, just as we look forward to the Big 12, I mean, it's all starting to play out. Oklahoma State, this one's coming down to the wire. Kansas State and Kansas, what time do they play? 6. So they're just getting underway. Is that a Fox?
Yeah.
Is that FS1?
I believe so, yes.
So anyway, and by the way, Bob, he's recovering. His family's recovering. I know everybody's been blaming me for not letting him do any of the pods. We're trying to keep him alive. So he begged out of this trip. And after we've all heard him, I actually kicked him out of the office one day. I said, get out of here. You're going to make us all sick. But he'll be back soon. So he went to the basketball game last night. He is covering basketball. So we'll have him back on the pods here real soon, and especially probably next week when we get ready for the finale. Guys, we mentioned it earlier, Jaden Gibson, just another step forward for a guy. And look, I hate the way that every time someone has a big game, it turns into the coaches are stupid for not playing him more. Everybody kind of comes to it at their own time. And I mean, Jaden Gibson will tell you that. Like, we talked to him early in the season. He is a guy that is very positive behind the scenes. He's not disgruntled. It would shock me if you ever saw him in the transfer portal. I think he loves it at Oklahoma. And it makes it even better for us that have gotten to talk to him a little bit when the fans don't ever see him and they think everybody that's not playing wants to quit or leave or transfer. He's a really positive, special guy. And he's finally coming into his own a little bit.
No doubt. I thought that he came up with a couple of really big catches. Obviously, the one in the first quarter that set up Oklahoma's first touchdown was massive, and the touchdown grab was really nice. Dillon Gabriel kind of scrambled and found him in the back of the end zone. It was a really nice grab to get his feet in bounds, too. He's doing a lot of little things, and it seems like, he's growing confidence. Even Brent mentioned it after the game, that I think a lot of the times Jaden kind of gets in his own way. He has a little bit of maturity steps to still be made, but at the same time, you're starting to see him come on and make big catches at big moments, and I think that's only a positive moving forward.
And
go ahead. He's a star. I think he's going to be a superstar. I think you think about, we talk about next year a little bit. You get Gibson and Anderson back. Farouk, we'll see what happens, but Gibson and Anderson, you're going to have those two guys on the outside. I mean, those are two big-time playmakers. And
then you add Andrell Anthony back into the mix.
Yep.
Now, Gavin Sawchuk, we talked a little bit about it, but we saw some more from him today. I mean, the touchdown run, I called it kind of beast mode. But, yeah, I think sometimes with him you get frustrated with the patience because the line kind of just kind of it kind of crushes in on him and he ends up not going anywhere. But without that patience, he's probably not breaking off some of the runs. It's a little bit like Kennedy Brooks, in terms of he's just waiting for something. Oh, we almost had a pick from Houston. It's kind of the long game with him sometimes, but I really feel like he's starting to feel. And the offensive line, I mean, we got to give them a lot of credit. I know Brent in the post game, he kind of didn't he single out Caden Green, or somebody singled out Caden Green pretty heavily.
I believe it was Brent. It was Brent. Yeah, he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's just crushing dudes. He's going to be really good. I thought Jacob Sexton again played really well today. I mean, you talk about two really young guys that are, again, the future up front. They're going to be starters next year. I mean, heck, it could be left tackle, left guard next year for him. I'm interested. I wonder if Tyler Guyton has maybe played his last game for Oklahoma.
Yeah, I would say if he doesn't play next week, he's going to declare early. So,
but I wouldn't be shocked. He does. I mean, if him knowing next week is probably his last game ever playing for Oklahoma at Owen Field. It would not shock me if he tries to play next week. He doesn't strike me as someone that's just like,
he's a team guy. I mean, like, he loves his teammates. Yeah. Like, we've seen that from him in practice.
He would have made the trip today.
Yeah. I mean, it would shock me if he didn't at least get some time in his final game on Owen Field.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting next week to see who goes out there for senior day. And, I hope Dillon can somehow play because he deserves to be recognized and play in his final game at Owen Field on Friday.
No doubt.
Yeah, I would think that we would know because they'll have senior day and he'll either be dressed or he won't.
Yeah.
I bet even if he didn't play, he would still dress out.
Yeah, because Brent's going to want to hide it, especially after today. I mean, like for Brent, that was the other thing. For Brent to not say that it was a concussion makes me think it was a pretty serious one.
Carey, in my video, and I put it in the instant reaction, I'm sure that we're going to talk about it much, much more here over the course of the next week. It was really weird. I thought it was an ankle injury when he went down because he goes down to the ground and then he kind of pauses when he gets up. And I thought, oh, shit, he can't put weight on his foot. I think he got, the cobwebs knocked a little bit. It was just a really strange thing. And then he finished the drive. I don't know. I don't know when that came up too, that like, hey, we probably need to get this guy checked out. Because I don't think that they have like the monitors and stuff like the NFL does where a doctor or whatever is like waiting to
they have the sensors. They have the sensors in the helmet. So if it spikes, they get a warning on the sideline on their computers, and it says, "Hey, this person had a spike of this magnitude or whatever." And so they know, like, if someone's head has hit the field harder than normal, like they go and get him and check him out. And I'm sure once they started checking him out, they realized there's a problem here.
Gotcha. It was weird. Like I was completely, because I didn't see anything at halftime. I had no idea that Gabriel was even injured. And then when I look up to start the third quarter on that first series, I was like, oh my God, what's number 10 doing in the game?
Well, yeah, and I guess Plank on the broadcast was the friend. George, you said that. You turned on the broadcast, and Plank said that he wasn't going to play, and Jackson Arnold was going to start the second half. Then it was some type of upper body injury.
I mean, Plank said it was a concussion on the.
Did he really? Okay.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. It was either him or maybe Gabe did that he was getting tested for a concussion. It was. I don't know if they said concussion. They said head injury.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, I did confirm it with somebody during the game. It was a concussion.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not trying to
like it. You watch the replay. I mean,
yeah,
he hits his head.
Backs his head.
I mean,
no one that's watched football can watch that and say that's not a concussion.
Yeah.
So, outside of that, was there any injuries today that lingered or?
Just Kenai Walker.
It looked like he was grabbing his groin, and how those things go. That's not a good situation considering the depth.
Oh, we got a fumble. We got a fumble. Looks like Ollie Gordon fumbled it.
You're way ahead, Carey.
My TV OSU got on it. I think Gordon jumped back on it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just looked up at the wrong. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he got it back on it. Lost a yard, though. They just need to get about 15 more yards in there in Alex Hell's territory. It's nice to be able to have a kicker that can push it to 2 scores.
He missed an extra point today.
Okay, did he get blocked though?
I think it was a bad snap, and I think it did. He might have kicked it right into the line.
I gotcha.
I think he did. I think that's what happened.
That's gonna do it. Long pass play down to about the 10-yard line. Rashad Owens.
That'll do it. Okay, so outside of that, was there anything post-game wise that was interesting? I mean, did you guys talk to Jaden Gibson in the post-game?
Yes. Yep. I talked to him just briefly. He was as good as he always is. He's always a talker, that's for sure. He talked a lot about Jackson Arnold and saying that, he's worked a lot with him throughout the season on the second team. And he said that he wasn't surprised by, him checking into that play. I think Gibson was on the field on that 3rd and 8. So he said that it was a check or whatever. And I think Jackson said it too after the game.
So Jackson did talk, and what was interesting, most interesting about that discussion?
He's quiet, man. Like he's very nonchalant. A lot of people were like, "Oh, were you nervous at all?" And he kind of said, "Yeah, I was, but that's just, I got out there and got going." And after he said the second drive is when he really settled into it. And he was asked about checking into that play, and he goes, "Yeah, we practiced that all week. We were ready for them to show us that look, and once I saw it, I switched into the slants and." Just the way his presence talking after the game, it's just like you wouldn't think this guy's a freshman. He definitely looks like one in the face. But
he has a little bit of fig jam in him.
Yes,
a little bit, just a little bit. It's a good thing. Like a 5-star quarterback, he knows that he's really good. I think he's really confident. And he's going to have to be humbled a little bit, just in terms of he's going to throw some picks. He's going to have low moments that any freshman's going to have, and they're going to have to be able to kind of roll with the punches in that regard. But at the same time, I think that just the confidence of coming in, not effing everything up, and being able to walk out of here with a win, it seemed like that everybody, from Brent Venables on down after the game, felt really good about just being able to go on the road, playing as poorly as they did, and finding a way to win, as opposed to the opposite side of it.
By the way, how was George the cameraman today? I sent him with a camera.
Very good, very good.
I could have done better. I was worried, Carey, because post game we were doing it out on the concourse of the stadium, and they were blaring the post game radio show for BYU.
Oh yeah,
and Jackson's very soft spoken, so. The video on YouTube is me as close to his face as humanly possible with the camera, just trying to make sure I get the audio, because he's just, again, is very soft spoken, so you can probably hear the radio in it too. But other than that, I think most of the video turned out okay.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a really cool experience. I really enjoyed this game. I thought the BYU crowd was really good. I thought the way that they keep fans kind of just in the game was awesome. And the BYU student section, it's just, I don't know how any other way to explain it than it's like all the kids that were super into youth group in high school. That
it's a little bit like the Baylor line.
Yeah, a little bit. There's some Baylor line
vibes,
characteristics.
It was funny because most of the game they were playing like Taylor Swift or Journey, or they played some Marvin Gaye. Ain't No Mountain High Enough, just like old school. And then all of a sudden they played Last Time That I Checked by Nipsey Hussle, and I was like, I don't think this is a part of the Mormon religion.
Yeah.
And didn't Marie Osmond sing the national anthem today?
She did.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. She didn't pass out like she did on Dance with the Stars, did she?
It was cool, and the setting's awesome. It's a really neat stadium. It was a very enjoyable experience.
Do they just alternate? Like Donnie do it next time, like every home game?
That'd be awesome if that was the case.
Just roll out the Osmonds. They had Dolly Parton at the Tennessee game today. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't. That's even better. That's really cool.
She is not afraid to let the girls play. At 77 or whatever she is. Yeah. I mean, still, though. I mean, it's still like, wow. And Ollie Gordon has scored, so that'll put that one away.
Love him.
By the way, those cougar tails are ridiculous. Those are way too big.
They are way too big. George got me about a quarter of one, and I took it in before the game. Very good.
Yeah, it's just a donut, though.
It's just a maple long john.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't available to the media. You have to go buy one, which I think they were selling them, and the line was pretty long.
$7, not that bad.
But the line was super long. A bunch of OU fans were in line, and so I snuck over and into Joe Castiglione's suite, which is where we're recording right now too.
Yeah, we're in the athletic director suite,
and they had about, I think, 8 of them sitting up there before the game, and he let me steal about half of one.
Star-studded suite up here.
Yes.
Josie,
Joe Harris,
Bob Stoops.
And George just walks in like he owns the place.
Well, I walked in and talked to Joe for a minute and his wife for a minute, and a couple other people were in here. And then Joe Harris and Bob Stoops walked in, and I was like, I probably should not be in here. I was like, I don't think this is my time to go.
Yeah. It's pretty good. You and Joe Harris are on speaking terms.
Oh yeah, I mean, I talked to Joe for just a second and asked how he was doing, but and then I told Bob he needs to call me this week for a story on Drake. So
yeah, you've talked to all the Stoops brothers at this point, I think, except for Bob, right?
yeah. So
And how was Salt Lake City?
I liked it. It's
Is it
really
BLC
clean.
vibes, Eddie?
Yeah, I could say. I could see that.
There's like a lot of new buildings down there, new apartments.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We drove in, Carey, and it's a beautiful scenery with the mountains in the background and the skyline. And Eddie goes, "This is a trash place." And I was just like, "What do you think? What do you think people say when they drive into Oklahoma City and all they see is like the Devon Tower?" And I love Oklahoma City, but like I was like, "This is clearly like a cool scenery." He's like, "Well, that's the Metroplex, OKC." So, but I thought it was nice. The crime rate is low. Not many homeless people down there, and it feels like. And this is probably just an assumption, but it does feel like every person you meet is Mormon.
Every person is kind of the same.
Yes.
Very, very white.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the best way to say it.
I think maybe
God
we should
love them,
stop
though.
talking about this. I feel like we're gonna get ourselves in trouble. We're gonna get the Mormons. Are they like the K-pop people? Or are they just gonna come after us?
Probably.
They don't really. I don't think cancel culture exists in the Mormon faith. You don't see them going after people very often.
Yeah, I don't know. They were very nice to me.
Was that anyway?
Great food.
All right. Well, you guys are gonna hit it back to Salt Lake City. Fly out in the morning and get ready for a shortened week. It's gonna be fast and furious as we try and get everything. We are going to make an effort to try and get everything out by Wednesday this week, so you guys can, or at least we'll get everything done here and then early Thursday, because I know there's going to be a lot of traveling. A lot of people are going to want to listen to stuff or watch the YouTube stuff as they're traveling. So we are making a heavy priority to make that happen. But Sooners win it 31-24. Any final thoughts? Well, let's just go around the room and just get some final thoughts from both of you guys.
I think it's a lot better than losing. That's probably where I would start. They found a way. It wasn't the prettiest thing. It wasn't the sexiest performance in the entire world, but they walk out of here with a win, and you're one win shy of getting to double digits. And we'll see how things go tonight in Ames. And then next week, see where Oklahoma, ends up finishing in the Big 12. But they accomplished the mission today, and that's getting a win in Provo, which could have definitely gone the other way had it not be for a couple plays today. And I think that, it is what it is. It's a little bit of growth, whether it be disgusting or not. They found a way to win, and you got Jackson Arnold out there today and came up with some big defensive turnovers when you really, really needed it. So all in all, it was a gross performance, but you do win the football game. And that's a far cry from where this thing was against Kansas a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a step in the right direction for Oklahoma. As ugly as it was, they were able to finish it out. And like I said on the instant reaction, a win is a win is a win is a win. And you take it and you get the hell out of Provo.
Eddie, was it as miserable shooting today as West Virginia or Kansas State?
Not even close.
Okay, good.
Not even close. It was, the rain, it was really weird. Like, it rained, but I think the only time that it truly opened up in the sky was during halftime, and came back out, and it rained most of the second half, but it was just kind of spotty. So it wasn't the weather. It was actually a pretty pleasant day, like 51 degrees. It wasn't cold by any means if you bundled up. So it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable.
Well, and they said this was the last year that field before it gets completely replaced. So, when you walked out on it, was it just awful?
Say what? I'm sorry.
The field, the surface, they said this is the last year they'd play on it, and then they're replacing the whole thing because it's
terrible.
Lived its life. But, could you tell how bad just in shoes, how,
yes.
that was a bad surface?
Yeah. It was terrible. And there were massive divots out of the ground. And that was like just at halftime. It was an awful playing surface. Are they going to turf, or do you know?
No, I think they're just replacing all the turf and like
the grass.
Because you know how they do that, like rip everything out and redo the gravel underneath with the drainage and all that.
Yeah, it's a terrible playing surface, and we kind of talked about that on the opponent preview that there was going to have to be some you were going to have to make a good decision on what kind of cleat you wore today, and they were able to get out of there with a win. It was an awful playing surface though.
Basically, they said on the pregame that these are the longest cleats that they make, and you can do things like put washers in between the cleat and the shoe to make it a little bit longer, but that really doesn't even, like, the field is so bad, even the shoes that are designed for dealing with that can't really handle it. So,
yeah, it was.
But
it was
like I
really
said,
bad.
It was a mess. It was a win. They're out. Going for 10-2 next week. TCU coming to town. We're going to have lots to talk about. We'll know a lot more when we meet again on Monday about the shape of, and Oklahoma State just got an interception, so this game is over. We'll know a lot more about the shape of the Big 12 championship game and who is where, and it's going to be an interesting week. So, guys, thanks so much. We will let you get back to Salt Lake City and catch that plane back. Be safe in the travels, and we'll talk to you guys again back here on Monday in the studios. Thanks, everybody, for listening to another edition of the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast. Our final edition of the regular season comes next week. We'll all be in studio. Look forward to talking to you then. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week right here on the Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast from Soonerscoop.com.